want to say thank you for listening. So our sponsors have given some great deals in this episode. Check these out. This episode of the Real ResQ podcast is brought to you by Breeze Eastern, the world's only dedicated helicopter hoist and winch provider. SR3 ResQ Concepts, because you don't know what you don't know. And ResQSwimmerShop.com, official high-quality apparel featuring the silhouette. Breeze Eastern. They dedicate themselves to our helicopter rescue world. Since the very first helicopter rescue in November of 1945, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured superior rescue hoist solutions. While much of the technology and the unique mission requirements have changed over the past 75 years, their commitment to the rescuers, the operators, and those being rescued has not. Contact them today by visiting them at breeze-eastern.com. SR3 ResQ Concepts is a training company that can help your helicopter training. They train daytime, nighttime, aerial firefighting, hoist, long line, fast rope, rappel, and more. They can assist your program with standardization and safety checks or just an FAA annual refresher. With the certified flight instructor pilots and experienced crew, they are ready to help your agency keep up to date with current techniques, rules, regulations, and equipment. Plus, right now, SR3 is offering 10% off anything in their web store with the promo code, all capital letters, Real ResQ, REALRESQ. Plus, they are offering 10% from their partners Petzl and their equipment. All you got to do is send an email to info@sr3rescueconcepts.com. Mention this podcast, the Real ResQ Podcast, and they'll take care of the rest. 15 years ago, photographer and Coast Guard rescue swimmer number 526, Chris Razok, created an iconic photograph. This photograph depicted the silhouette of a helicopter rescue swimmer reaching down for an outstretched hand in need against the American flag backdrop. The image went viral and became a symbol worldwide for the rescue community and the people they help. Its wild popularity inspired Chris to launch ResQSwimmerShop.com, a web store offering official high-quality apparel featuring his evocative image, the silhouette. T-shirts, hats, patches, and stickers featuring the silhouette are available at ResQSwimmerShop.com, including the flagship design So Others May Live. Follow Chris and his story on Instagram with the handle @ResQSwimmerShop. And if you are a rescue swimmer, support rescue swimmers, or just tell people you are one at the bar, this gear is definitely for you. When you get to the website, ResQSwimmerShop.com, enter the promo code, all lowercase, one word, ResQ, RESCUE, for 10% off your order. Being a rescue swimmer, or even those of us that are part of search and rescue teams, the job is extremely mentally and physically demanding. In the United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer Manual, it specifically says this: a helicopter rescue swimmer must have the mental capacity, flexibility, mobility, strength, power, agility, endurance, and equipment to function for at least 30 minutes in heavy seas, on an unstable platform, on rugged terrain, during adverse weather conditions. The majority of us that do this job, we understand what it takes, which is one of the big things about training. When you look into training, you're talking physical training, pushing yourself to the limits, whether it's swimming, whether it's lifting, whether it's cardio. We are pushing ourselves every day so that we can prepare ourselves for whatever gets thrown at us, whether it's going in the water, going on the mountain, unstable boat or platform. That's what we're training for. That's what we're getting ready to go do. So our next guest in this episode of the ASTerisk brings us a little more insight as far as what these guys do at the elite athlete level. He brings some of his personal experiences and some of his personal routines that he does in order to keep himself at the peak performance. It certainly helped me with some of the stuff that I do, and I'm going to take some of the stuff that he does and definitely introduce it into my regimen. So please welcome elite CrossFit Games athlete, Mr. Travis Mayer. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard rescue swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ podcast. Today I've got an ASTerisk episode. That's right, because we're not talking rescue today. We're going to talk a little bit something just different. So my guest today, a 7 times CrossFit Games athlete, Mr. Travis Mayer. What's up, dude?
What's going on? How we doing, man?
Man, I am fantastic. So first, thank you so much for joining me on the show, dude. This is a treat for me. I'm stoked.
No,
right now.
I'm excited. You know, I'm excited to learn a little bit about your world, and then also share the stuff that we do and get to kind of throw down workouts and recovery and all that stuff. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited. Yeah, because your world, like I'm in your world right now, but I'm at the bottom of your world. So
I mean, they're just different stages of the sport. I mean, it's just, I think the thing that's easy for a lot of CrossFitters to relate to is that the fact that we understand kind of like what the feeling of workouts is like. So I know exactly what you're feeling like doing the workouts and how your body and the experiences that it's going through, where like it's hard for you to relate to an NFL player because you don't know what it's like getting hit by somebody 350 pounds, like full speed running at you. And I think it's just, that's why CrossFitters, I feel like, always click so well, is because everybody is able to do what the elite are doing, or at least attempt and or scale or do whatever. But it's pretty neat to do it. Yeah, for sure. But you're not at the bottom level.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Look at that. I feel better already. You know, it's I got to tell you, man, it is impressive to watch you guys, all the elites on top. You know, all you guys, just, and ladies, like, because heck, the scaled version is, I can't even do that. I can't even push half the weights that the girls are pushing. Gosh, Tia Toomey and all of them. Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive when you just watch. I mean, even watching like the master stuff and the adaptive. I mean, there's an adaptive guy that deadlifted, I think, over 500 pounds with like one arm or something. Like, that's just unreal.
The strap that they put on his arm.
Like you got no excuse. Like there's harder situations in life going on, and I mean, these people are, I mean, completely different than your world, but in that side of things, and the fitness side, it's impressive. That's
awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, man. So I know who you are just because, like, I'm in the CrossFit world. But for everybody else out there that doesn't know you or really the CrossFit world, if you don't mind, just introduce yourself, a little bit of background about you and how you got into CrossFit.
Yeah, so I'm a husband. I have 4 kids. I'm a gym owner, 7 times games athlete. Woo! And then kind of like a little bit backstory, I guess. So I grew up racing motocross, and that was kind of like where I spent most of my time, was racing. And one of my best friends at the time, I started to kind of get out of racing a little bit, and he was turning professional. And so I ended up being a mechanic for him. And so we would travel. This was like as soon as I graduated high school, his parents pretty much just let us go travel around the States. And then we had like 4 practice bikes and race bikes. And then we'd travel, we'd go meet with our trainer. And then from there, we'd go to the track and then ride all day. Then we'd come back and I'd work on bikes. And then all weekend, we'd go to the races and go do different things. So that was kind of like the start. And I always kind of did fitness throughout that, just because if you hit the ground at 50 miles an hour, it's going to hurt. So that was like one thing my dad always, that was one thing my dad always taught me, was just, you need to make sure you're working out and staying healthy. So I always created this like passion and joy out of working out. And so then I started personal training in the mix of all of that. And one of my buddies was like, hey, you should try this CrossFit thing. he's like, you get to sit down, drink beer when you're done, and just hang out. I was like, oh, well, that sounds awesome. And then so I ended up watching all these like original videos from like back in the day when they like first started at the ranch, and then at the games, the early stages. And then I was like, I want to do that. So then I immediately kind of like dedicated my whole life to that mission of like being a games athlete and being a professional athlete in that sense. So then I pretty much changed the way I was sleeping, eating, drinking, literally everything to that day, and has made the sole focus of going to the games and now trying to win the games is the goal going forward. So that's kind of the quick story of like how I kind of got into CrossFit, and now I own a gym, and it's a 12,000 square foot facility. And then
Holy
my coach
cow.
moved his business inside of my gym. So then there's like a big hub of a lot of people trying to grow and learn and create a pretty cool environment. So it's fun.
So what's the name of your gym and where are you located?
So my name of the gym is United Performance, and it's in Atlanta, Georgia. So it's about 30 minutes north in Alpharetta. Yeah.
Pretty awesome. And for those that actually don't know, it's one of the really cool things that I enjoy about like CrossFit gyms, so that's one of the bonuses about me and my job is I get to travel all around. So I drop into gyms all the time, and there is not a single CrossFit gym that is named the same across the country. So it's, well, for the most part, but that's kind of cool
because they're all independently owned and they all run the gym different than how the guy down the street does. Like there's a gym 400 meters down the road from us, and I mean it's run completely different than the way we do things, and it's just it's pretty cool that you're allowed to do that. I think sometimes it can get a little interesting, but for the most part, like giving the owners the freedom to be able to do things at how they want to. I think everybody applies skills differently and how they learn and approach and teach. And I feel like when you're personal training, that's pretty much what you're doing in a group setting. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool to have the freedom to be able to allow our coaches to do whatever they need, allow the staff and everybody around in the gym to do those things as well.
Oh yeah. No, I think it's amazing. And you know, it's interesting when you see, we're going to call them athletes and clients that come in that are looking for, oh, I'd like to just get in better shape. I'd like to do this. I'd like to do that. And then all of a sudden they're doing stuff that they never thought possible. And I specifically remember, and you could probably relate to this, is you're coaching somebody and you see them do a handstand against the wall for the first time since they were 5. And she was so happy, she left crying. She was so pumped. And I'm like, brought a tear to my eye too. I was like, oh, look at you, girl. Come on.
Yeah. So that stuff's just happening daily, right? So it's just, it's pretty awesome to see and watch as the members kind of grow and develop that the progress that they see. And I mean, it starts to happen fairly quick depending on how consistent you're coming in and spending time doing extra things. If you're wanting to hit certain skills, or if you're trying to walk on your hands, or if you're trying to get a muscle up, like those things of course take more time than just sometimes specifically what's written in the class. But when they do accomplish those things, or during like the open and they get their first bar muscle up or something, like the excitement that they get is like almost just as exciting for me watching it happen. I was on a podcast the other day with like my coach, and we were just talking about how intense like the open, which is like, for those who don't know, it's like the first qualifying stage to get to the games, which is where like everybody sees on TV and different stuff.
Yeah, it's where I get to compete against Travis Mayer. Oh, snap. Come on.
It's where like watching the members get amped up and excited got me excited. And there would be times like usually Friday morning I would do the workout. And there's been a few times where when we have like, we call it Friday Night Lights, is when everybody comes to the gym, they do the open workout together. And then it's just a more competitive environment, which they enjoy. Yeah. And during that, I'll get sometimes so amped up and excited that I'll redo the workout that night or something, just because I was like, the energy was so high, like watching people hit PRs, it got me excited. And then I'll end up doing better or beating my time by like a minute that I did that morning. And you'd be like, how's that even possible? But it's just like, that's the environment that you're creating and cultivating. And it's pretty cool that you can get that out of just general population members that are just excited to be there. And accomplish something that they've been chasing for a while, and that just gets me fired up, and then I want to go do it. And so, yeah.
I love the fact that you just said to me that you did it, like you did the workout in the morning and then you got motivated to do it again in the afternoon. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm smoked for like 2 days, and I'm planning like the beginning of the weekend and the end of the weekend.
Yeah, I think it was a couple of years ago. It was if you took top 20 in the world in the open. So there was like, I don't know, I guess 200,000 participants on the male side. But if you took top 20 in the open, then you automatically qualified for the games. And I remember, I think it was the final week. I think I was in like 13th, 14th, something like that. And I was like, I had enough point cushion that I thought I would be fine. But I ended up like doing the workout. I wasn't happy with it, did it again, ended up doing it again. So I did it 3 times in one day. And it was like the thruster chest to bar one. And I don't know how I did it. Sometimes it's just the body takes over and you just kind of trust everything you've been doing and leading up to that. But it's definitely crazy what your body's capable of doing when you just put your mind to it.
You are not kidding. Holy smoke. Yeah. Which is okay. So now that's a great transition right now into like the conjunction between CrossFit and the rescue world. There are things that we do, in the rescue world, which are standard. I'm going to call them CrossFit moves. You've got your deadlifts, you've got your cleans, you've got your presses, you got guys, you're pushing litters overhead, you're picking up, 250, 300 pound people as a team to move them in a litter from one point to another. This is one of the things that I love about CrossFit. And a little background about me too, is when I first got into rescue, man, I was just kind of a go to the gym, get bigger, get stronger. There was no mobility. There was no, like, other than getting in the pool, like, because it was required for me to swim, rescue swimmer and all, but other than that, yeah, right. So, when I started getting into the CrossFit world, my buddy Kurt Revels, he owned a gym down in Houston, Texas, and he would bring me in, and then we'd start doing workouts together when we were working. But that's kind of where it started for me. And I was like, oh, snap. You're hiking up somebody up of like 300 steps or 10 flights of stairs. And, you're doing that pull. It's all these different moves. To get onto a boat, you have to come out of the water and do that, almost a bar muscle up to get in and on the boat. It's stuff like that people don't understand, the relationship between the two. And that's what I think is so amazing and important for people to listen to and practice. And CrossFit's a great way to do it, especially proper technique. Oh my God. Let me get into some proper technique for a minute, because I will tell you from my own experience, I get in the gym and I get like 315 on the bar. I'm getting ready to do back squats, and I went about 3 inches down. And I was like, yeah, I did it. Dude, let me tell you, I got humbled that day when my buddy's like, I don't know, pull all those plates off. You got 95 on, and they're like, sit your butt down right to that bunch. That's a full back squat. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, you just took the excitement from my 315 PR to a 95 pound. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, there's definitely movement quality and standards that you want to focus on and make sure you're hitting, just due to the fact of like, it's healthy and it's smart and it's the way you should be squatting and pressing, and not ending with the barbell overhead in front of you. But I mean, I think it's also depending on whatever your goals are, right? Like if you're just pure bodybuilder and that's what you want to accomplish and go after, then you don't necessarily have to focus as much on like the movement patterns and the quality of how you're actually getting the reps done. Like it's going to be in front of you on some things, where if it's like, hey, I want to be a competitive CrossFitter, then it's like, okay, like you have to meet these standards. You have to make sure the bar is hitting this position. You have to make sure you're hitting this depth on a squat. And I think it just kind of varies on what the goals and aspirations are. But at the end of the day, better movement quality is going to help kind of translate into everything else. If I'm moving better without weight, then when I start adding weight, if I can still maintain that, then you're just structurally making everything stronger and better for yourself and setting you up for success. And I mean, to then translate that into like the rescue swimmer world, like doing a bunch of different movements that of course are, I don't want to say sport specific, but almost like job specific, that's going to suit you guys to, if it is doing bar muscle ups and doing different pull ups and strict and body weight and weighted vest stuff, and I feel like there's definitely ways you can train that stuff to make it even more optimal once you get in and out of the water, and how you do things and carry people. And I think
Yeah.
anybody can benefit from CrossFit, as I think it's beneficial and it's great, but not everybody enjoys suffering. So I don't think it is necessarily for everybody, right? Like you have to enjoy suffering kind of to a degree. Now,
Yeah.
granted, you can do the workout slower and make it not hurt as much, but then the intensity is not there. So then you're not getting ultimately the result that you're wanting. So you're trying to create that balance of, do I go too hard? Do I drop the weight? Like, what's the intention? But that's ultimately, you start leading into like good coaching and staff, and how they'll teach you how you should feel during the workout, what the experiences should almost be like, the time domain, like all of those things, even when you start looking at workouts, is what starts to then make you a better athlete or whatever it is you're trying to do.
Yeah, totally agree. You know, one of my buddies, he's a rescue swimmer as well, Bob Watson. He's kind of famous in our world. All right. So love Bob Watson. But he said to me one day, he's like, you know, we're professional athletes. We're just not paid for it. And I was like, what? And I kind of looked at him sideways. And then all of a sudden I'm getting launched out to, you know, a boat on fire, and I'm swimming in 20-foot waves. And I'm like, whoa, okay, now I can relate. Oh, by the way, and tomorrow you get launched out and you're going to a mountain because some dude's stuck on a mountain and you're hiking up to go get him. That's the greatest part for me between the CrossFit world and the rescue world. You never know what you're going to get. You never know what the workout's going to be. Like, you have an idea, but you never actually know, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And that's,
I mean, I feel like that's what's also exciting and keeps people entertained and not ever get bored with it, right? It's not like I'm just going and hopping on an elliptical or treadmill for 20 minutes and that's my workout for the day. It's like, no, like for us competing, there's a lot of times even going into like the games, we don't know what we're doing until we get there.
yeah.
Like, so they'll announce events literally 10 minutes before you start the competition of a workout. And they'll be like, this is the event. Here are the standards. This is what it is. You got 15 minutes, warm up and go. So like, there's really like, you better make sure you're skilled at almost everything, right? Like, you just don't know what you're going to do. So that's why all year round, you're just preparing for literally anything, whether it's swimming. Like, we swim typically twice a week right now, and then going into the games is sometimes more. But then when you're getting to the games, then you're doing stand-up paddleboard, prone paddleboard. You're literally, this year we had kayaking at the games after a swim. I mean, like, you really don't ever know. Yeah, so you never know what you're actually going to do until you get there, which is neat. But it's definitely hard to train for because you literally just keep training everything. Like, I have a sprint coach that does like field and track work and agility work, and then I have a swim coach, and then I have my weightlifting coach, and then I have my actual like CrossFit coach. And then like, there's just so many different elements that you're combining into one to then hopefully whatever comes out on game day, you're ready.
Yeah.
You know, like people have their gymnastics coaches. Like, there's so many different areas in sports that have all been brought together kind of into one hub of CrossFit, which is neat to do and then experience. Cause then, I mean, then you're just getting more skilled and you're always having to learn something, like always.
Yeah.
Because even if you think you know what it is, next year they're going to change the standard of it. They're going to change how it's done. Like, it's just a never ending. Like, you would think for a burpee, which is where you jump down, get your chest to the ground, jump up, clap overhead, that would be the simple standard. Well, it's like now they have it where you can jump and reach 12 inches on the wall. You can do it to a target. You can do it over bars. You can do it laterally. You can do it over boxes. And I mean, like, so you have to have 10 different techniques on how you would do a burpee for that one movement. And then now spread that out over every single movement we do. You better have different ways you cycle a barbell. I need to have a speed one. I need to have the technical version. Like, there's so many different things that you're always having to learn. But I mean, that's what's fun, right? That's what always keeps you going back. You're never bored with it. That's for sure.
Right.
Like, there's always something new and exciting kind of coming up.
So this is another spot that we can relate to, even in the rescue world, where you have that drive and motivation to keep coming back for more. It's that mindset to not let the workout beat you, number one. and two, that determination and the motivation to get it done. And I think that's where like a lot of the rescue people that I know that I've worked with, like you don't, just because you get called out, you don't say no. Like no is not an option. People are dying. Go get them. They're praying for that miracle. We're going. And that's what we need to train for. So all of us are training to that aspect. So, I dig it.
Yeah, I mean, it's super impressive what you guys do. I mean, I feel like I wouldn't say I know enough about any of that really in the rescue world. I mean, but I feel like, and this might, hopefully this isn't an insult, but I feel like the closest thing is like the movie The Guardian or whatever.
Hey, that is exactly it. The Guardian,
so,
mic drop.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm like, I don't know if that's actually like like sometimes when people recreate movies of like, if it's in the military, something like it can be offensive and different things. I'm like, that's just like the closest thing to like rescue swimmers that I've ever like experienced and seen. And I'm like, man, that stuff just looks insane and is super impressive, even from swimming just straight or in the ocean. Or I mean, like even in Dubai when we were swimming, we had like 6 foot 12s or something, and like swimming in that is sketchy. And I'm like, let alone having to do that while trying to save somebody with all the gear on. I'm like, man, that would be hard. So it's very impressive that you guys are able to do that and you're saving people's lives. Like at the end of the day, like what you guys are doing is incredible. So more props to all of you guys doing that, because
much appreciated.
I just happened to work out and found out I was good at it. Like you guys are making big changes out there. So you guys are the ones that deserve all the props.
What I think is funny is you're like looking at 6 foot seas and it's a rough day and it's kind of sketchy. And I'm like, let's go, baby. Let's do this.
I'm used to the lake and the pool. Like I live in Atlanta. There's no, like, for me to get any sort of swell, it's not happening here. I mean, the biggest thing that could happen is probably in the bathtub if I'm splashing a lot or something, but there's not going to be a lot of swells happening anywhere in pretty much Florida or anywhere close enough that I'm going to be driving frequently to go practice swimming like that. So I remember we pulled up and they were like, oh, the water should be calm today. I think it should be a great day. And we all get there and we're like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, these things are no joke. Like, and I mean, it's pretty much fair for everybody because no one ever trains in that, right? Like,
yeah.
Most people, when they're going out to train, the conditions are like ideal, perfect, calm water. Like, it's like when you're going out wakeboarding or something in the morning and it's just glass, like, and then you have to go out when it's like Labor Day weekend and everybody's there. Like, it's not the same effect. But that's why you train all different things. And then it comes into the mindset thing of being able to stay calm in those pressure situations of like, I mean, I think it was in what year was that at the games? 14? I don't know. It was 2013 or 14, maybe, or 14, because 13 we were in the pool. It was like burpees, kettlebell thrusters. Then you went out, swam around a buoy, came back, did it again, and then you went out and around the pier. And I remember there was a point where I was like, we were swimming out and there was like shark sightings that morning. So it was already making everybody feel uncomfortable. And I mean, out around the pier is just a very uncomfortable feeling. Like there's not, and it's not like we're close, like, right. Everybody started to spread out now in the workout. Like everybody's pretty far apart. And I remember I'm just like staring down into like the abyss and I'm like, this is my time. Like a shark's coming right now. Like, this is it. Like, I have nothing I can do. Like my time is done. Like, this is it. I'm done. Like, and it's like, there's nothing I could do. Like the shark's just going to take me. But just, I'm like, man, I couldn't imagine being like you guys are out in the middle of like nowhere, like the ocean. And I'm like, that feeling to be able to stay calm in that situation. And I mean, probably the last thing on your mind is like, oh, I'm about to get attacked by a shark or something.
Well, but, it's there.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, like, people don't know, like, that it is a sketchy feeling when you're in the middle of the ocean. And I mean, like, granted, I had 500 yards back to shore, so like I could swim it. But if you couldn't see shore, like, and you're out in the middle of the ocean like that, that's a different mindset to be able to stay calm and regulate your heart rate, make sure you're okay. Like, that's some intense stuff. But Yeah, mine was I was about to get eaten by a shark was what I thought was happening.
That's so funny. The only thing I'll argue with you about is it's not a different mindset. It's the same mindset in a different aspect.
Yeah,
like,
that too.
Yeah, totally is. But man, that's hilarious. And just for the record, when you guys were swimming, this last one, you guys, it was a mile swim and then a 3-mile kayak off the top of my head. Yeah. So you guys had fins on for your mile swim. I want you to know that every swimmer out there is like, oh, I got this workout. Mic drop.
Yeah. No, I honestly, like, we never train in fins ever, because it's not ever allowed typically. But this is what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're getting into or what they're going to send out or make as the workout. I think it definitely helped certain people, like, because if you're not a good swimmer, you put fins on, it makes a big difference. But I felt like for the majority of us, like, you would have seen more of a separation if you took the fins off for sure, and like known who can actually stay consistent kicking and who's actually in good body positions and actually working on I'm not saying the people that won are like, they probably would have been the same regardless, just based off of Koski was like a world-class swimmer. Like, so he better win, right? Like that would be like putting me like, that'd be like me getting on a motocross track and saying like, oh, these people are going to beat you. It's like, nah, it's probably not going to happen. Like, it's just, let's be real. It's not. Like, I spend a lot of my time doing that. Like, you won't. And I mean, that's the same situation for him. But I think you definitely would have seen mix-ups in the like top 15 that would have been different just based off of like the fins. I feel like did make a huge difference because once you got onto the kayak, I don't feel like anybody passed anybody. Like, it just kind of stayed like, because no one's kayaked really, or no one had enough experience. So it was like, whatever you kind of got into the water in on the kayak, you just kind of stayed there. It wasn't like, because it's not like anybody has a good enough technique, because we just found out the day before what we were doing. So, I mean, you can watch 10,000 YouTube videos, but you're not going to figure out how to master the kayak. Like, it's just not going to happen. So I think, which is cool though, because then it just shows like everybody was kind of at an even playing field. What will happen is next year, if they bring it back again, or in 5 years, people will continue to keep practicing it. Then you'll see, I feel like, more of a separation of, oh, they've actually been doing this. Clearly I haven't, kind of thing.
Yep. And it's working on the weakness, which is something else that I love in CrossFit. And I've heard a lot of you guys, the elites, talk about that, working on the weakness, and I've heard both sides, like, oh, I just go to the gym and do biceps because my biceps are huge. No, dude, work on something that, your skinny little legs. All right. Like the guys that never do squats, man, get under the bar. You got to, build it all equally. But, all right. So let me jump into Travis Mayer's recommendations, because this is something that I'm always curious about. And there are things that I've learned, throughout my career, and there are things that I love right now. But from you, proper training, like, what are your recommendations for everybody out there for proper training? And that is relating to I'm going to call it the functional fitness movements. All right. And before we go too far, I want to tell you a story. And that is, so my wife and I are on a mission trip, and we're down in Mexico, and she's mixing concrete. And I swear to God, I looked over to her and she did like a straight up clean of the bucket and then a press. And I'm like, look at that, clean and jerk right there. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's definitely functional for sure at certain points. I mean, I think from like a training perspective, it's all going to vary based upon what your, I feel like, goals and aspirations are, and like what you're trying to strive for, right? Like, if you're trying to be a competitive CrossFit athlete, then you need to reach out, find a coach, get on a good structure, someone that's going to keep you safe, healthy, and continue to keep doing it for longevity purposes. I mean, if you're just trying to be, I mean, I've been in the game for 10 years now and have stayed healthy, no real injuries with my coach, like everybody's been healthy. That's ultimately what I'm wanting to continue to do, and then be able to show my children that, and all these different things. Like, you don't need to train like an idiot and just do 10,000 workouts in a day and then be like, oh, this is the smart way to get better, because that's what they all look like they're doing. We do that, but that's also, I've been building that up for 10 years, right?
Right,
Like the volume I didn't just start with was what I'm doing going into the games. Like going into the games, we were doing 5 or 6 workouts a day.
which
And so
is
with that,
insane to the majority
yeah,
of us.
yeah, I mean, it's just, you have to have a coach or someone else versus just yourself that you can have a conversation with, that can be like, no, that's actually a really bad idea. Don't do that. Or yeah, you can do that, but that's fine. Like having that someone else to call you out when it's like, it's not an okay time. But I mean, I've been with my coach since 2012, and he's like moved his whole business to inside my gym. Like he's literally like a brother to me. So creating a relationship with your coach, like not saying you need to be that close with him, but you need to make sure you're reaching out to a coach that actually has a good understanding of movement quality patterns, like how you're doing things, that you're staying in a safe environment from the competitive sport world. But if it's just like you're wanting to train functional fitness and then trying to get better and just live a healthier life, then I think finding and researching a good CrossFit gym that's focused on movement patterns is giving you an onboarding process when you're walking in, so that you're having a better idea than just getting thrown into a class and it's like, hey, deadlift this weight. Yeah, do it. Where it's like, no, like, how do I hinge from the hip? How am I dropping my knees down? Like there's so many different things like that go into it that set you up for success, that then hopefully translates into your everyday life, right? Like I pick my kids up and throw them in the air 10,000 times, right? Like ultimately I'm doing a clean and jerk every single time, but no one's thinking of it like that, right? Anytime you pick up groceries off the ground, you're doing a deadlift. Like it's all those little things, but you're not really thinking about it. But those are the things that it's translating to, where it's not like I'm saying, hey, you're going to set up and like, I need to keep my back tight, drop my hips down and keep like the back's close. Like you're not thinking that when you're picking up groceries off the ground. But ultimately, if I'm training those skills and habits inside a gym, that when I get outside of it, it's just ultimately going to make it 10 times better. Like I remember, so my father-in-law is not, he always kind of like, he knew what I did and knew I owned a gym, but never came in for years. And then he finally came into the gym and pretty much fell in love with CrossFit. He's like, man, I'm so bummed I didn't do this like sooner when I like met you and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, it's cool to see, like, even he's like, I can see the benefits and the strength. And like, I've kind of like seen his body, like, I don't want to say transform, but transform to a degree of like, okay, he's got like a 6-pack abs coming in. The guy's like 60 years old. Right. Nice. So it's like, there are different ways, and it's just like, it's making him stronger. Then he's able to play with like his grandkids for longer, right? Like all those things are ultimately benefiting and helping him. And it's just being able to do those things. Like my parents come to the gym all the time and they're 65. Like you can still do it at whatever age you want, right? Like It's not like there's an age limit. Like I've had 70-year-olds come into the gym that we've trained, and for them, of course, you're scaling down what they're doing and part of the intensity just based off of like health reasons and smart, but that's what you should also be researching and knowing of the gym you're going into knows what they're talking about. Right? Like that'd be like me falling into the water and being like needing a rescue swimmer, but you just found somebody like off Craigslist and you're like, hey, go save them. Right? Like no experience, no training. Like you got to make sure you have your research and knowing like the people you're sending out know what they're talking about and are doing. And it's the same thing. I feel like when you go into a gym or somewhere else, right? Like you need to make sure they know what they're talking about and have an understanding and know how to teach quality of movement. And I mean, you might not know for certain, but then if that's like a great place for you, ask a buddy or somebody you probably knows something about fitness. And it's like, do they sound like they know what they're talking about? Like if you're not sure, like the way technology is now too, like you can always find
YouTube
useful. Yeah. You can find useful information anywhere. But yeah, it's definitely that was kind of, I guess, a little off topic, but
no, you're on a topic. It's just a proper training. You know, you get a guy that gets in there and gives you that proper training. You know, one of the things that I really enjoyed was going to my level 1 CrossFit, you know, and there are things that they start talking about there and that repeats in all the gyms you go to. And you're like, okay, be back straight, you know, tight core, this, that, and the other thing, and depending on the movement. But I learned a lot from that. And I highly recommend for anybody that's out there, go to a class. It doesn't have to be a CrossFit class or a CrossFit schooling, but go to a class with proper technique. So the Bergner class is a great lifting class. And you have all these good classes that are out there that have proper form. And it's like super good.
Yeah.
Because you see
I mean,
guys,
the way technology is, you have access to literally everything at your fingertips. It's not how it was like 20 years ago. Like
right.
the way you can literally snatch or pull up a video and you're like, hey, I need snatch technique work. Like there's professionals teaching you snatch technique work that were like elite level and world class. So it's like all that stuff's just right at your fingertips. It's just how much do you actually want to spend on those skills? Or if it's like, hey, I want to learn how to handstand walk, or I want to learn how to swim, like, or I want to learn how to run better. Like it's literally all out there at your fingertips. It's just being able to take the time and
go do it,
to almost like retrain how you're doing things currently and develop it in a better pattern. Like I've retrained my snatch and clean. I couldn't even tell you how many times. Just like there's different ways we'll be like, okay, my hips are more open now. My bottom position's better than how my mobility was 5 years ago. So now we need to change maybe the setup position, widen the hands out a centimeter more on each side. Okay, when I'm dropping my hips in the setup, like there's different ways to change everything. And you're constantly always trying to get better and find like that 1% almost to apply in each and every area. And that's ultimately what we're striving for every day, is to what we're trying to create is just how can I get better at this one movement? Okay. Well, I've done it 10,000 times. All right. Well, now I have to retrain it. Okay. So I drop back down to PVC, do it with PVC for a while, then empty bar, then 95, 135, 185, 220. Then it just becomes habit. Yeah. But it's like people just think, right, you see a snatch 300 pounds and clean and jerk 365, and like that's cool and all, and that looks great on social media and everywhere else, but like that's not actually what's happening, right? Like you're not seeing the 10,000 hours I spent of movement work just to get into a better position in the bottom of a squat to then keep my hands together and snatch overhead. Like that's the stuff that people don't see. It's like you don't see all the schooling and stuff that you guys do with like swimming and how to save somebody. Like you just see, hey, I'm jumping into the water, I'm going over there, I'm saving them, and then coming back. Like you're not seeing all the skills and the technique and the training habits that have like been ingrained in you to do that. Like it'd be like if I changed your complete stroke, like for you, it'd be a completely different ball game getting into the water if you had to learn a new stroke today. Like it's just the way it is. And I think that's what has always brought me to CrossFit and made me enjoy it, is that it's like you're always having to learn something new. You always have to like level up whatever it is you're doing. And I think that's what like Dave Castro's done a good job at with the games, is like never letting it be the same thing. Like it's always like, okay, your rope climbs. All right, now they're legless. Okay, they were always 15 feet. All right, now they're 20 feet. Like you're always finding a way to make things more challenging, difficult, and really start to push the body outside its comfort zone. And I think that comes into play of his Navy SEAL background and same concept. Like you're preparing for the unknown. Like you don't know what you're going into.
Right.
It's literally the same. Like last year at the games, so I wasn't there, but they did a run. He said it was going to be a 5K run, and as soon as they got to the finish line, he said turn around and go back. Right. Like
that's where Matt Frazier flipped him off.
Yeah. So that's the difficult side of like the mental game, is just being prepared to be thrown off. Like that's what he's trying to do, right? Like that was what he was trained in, was like people always threw me off my game and what he did. So it's like his way of transferring it into our sport, which is neat. And I don't think they'll probably ever do that again, because then people expect it. But the fact that he did it in that moment is like, it was very interesting. But it's I mean, that then translates, I feel like, to you guys is like,
oh, it does.
Hey, you got to call, right? Like you got to call, you got to go out, you got to go save somebody. And then immediately later you got to call again. Okay, we got to go again. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like you just have to do it. Like that just is what it is. And I mean, it's
I'll give
different
you
for
example.
our sport because
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go. You're good.
Well, I can give you another example of that, is when like we get launched out on stuff all the time, and the information that comes into us of the original call is very different than when you get on scene. All of a sudden you're on scene, they tell you, oh yeah, you got 1 or 2 people in the water and it's 5 or 6. And you're like, holy cow, you know. Or I remember specifically flying out to the vessel that was on fire, and I'm coming on the radio and they're telling me there's 26 people in the water. And I'm like, I'm sorry, did you say 26 people in the water? That was a whole, I mean, I'm going to be there in an hour and a half. There's a major game change in mindset with that whole case. Anyway. So yeah, I'm on board. Go Dave Castro. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah. He does a very good job with that. He's very good at that.
Yeah, very much so. So what do you guys do, or you specifically, what do you do for recovery in between? You had just mentioned it, like you do one workout and then you go right into another workout. For us, it's the same thing. For those of us, there are those that have listened, you can go back and listen to Dave Gray, Butch Flythe, and some of the other ones that have had, you get launched out, you go to a case, you come back, you clean off the helicopter, you clean up your gear, and boom, alarm goes off again and you're going back out. Your recommendation, like what do you guys do to prepare yourself from one workout to the next that would relate to us as far as how we can prepare to be maximized from one call to the next?
Yeah. I mean, I think for us, like I have a kind of an understanding of what my body's going through, right? And like how many calories I'm kind of like burning, like the amount of time I'm spending under tension. Like I kind of have an idea of like what the workout and how much carbs with like my nutritionist I'm working on. And I'll see like, okay, when I'm done with this workout, I need 75 grams of carbs. I need 40 grams of protein. Don't worry about your fat right now. You'll get that later. And then like, so I have like things broken down for each workout and when they're done. So I think for the general population, I think the biggest thing is like stretching and cooling down, which is what most people don't do, right? Yep. Like you finish, I mean, I can only relate this to like fitness and CrossFit because that's what I do. I feel like it's hard for me to relate it to what you do.
No, but it's all good because I'm telling you right now, it's very similar. Very similar.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think from that side, it's like if you already have like a shake pre-made, like if it's like you pack 2 of them, just not knowing what you're going to get into. Like I have my protein and my carbs and whatever else, if you like other things mixed in with your shakes. I like things super easy and digest easy in my stomach. So I keep a certain carb that I take and a certain protein that just sits well with me and then digest easily. So then as soon as I'm done, I'll drink that and then I'll hop on usually like a bike, or you can go for a walk or something at like a very low intensity, like easy pedaling while drinking that. And then when I'm done with that, just do a little bit of movement work, stretching out what positions I felt were like super tight. So probably for you guys, a lot of upper body, lats, kind of legs. Like if you know what a couch stretch is, doing couch stretch. So like if you
love to hate it, hate to love it.
Yeah. Some like lat pull down, just like extending out the lats, getting body work done. If you have like a hypervolt or Theragun or one of those that like compulses, and then you can literally put it on the body and just anything you can start doing to get the blood flow to the muscle to start recovering and healing faster. I mean, I do a lot of Normatec, which that you're sitting still though, like you're sitting in compression boots and it's filling up air all the way up your legs and pretty much just flushing out like the lymphatic system and then leading to healing faster and recovery. But that's kind of hard to do if you're just getting ready for a call. Like to get in and out of those is not the easiest thing.
Yeah, that was not going to quite relate to us.
Yeah,
but.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing probably I would say would be like having food or shake immediately after. Try to get, if you can take real food in, because that's ultimately going to be better than it would be in a shake. Because I feel like a lot of people just aren't getting enough in. Like they'll be like
calories wise,
less calorie wise for most of the people I deal with. It's like I'm trying to lose weight or do this, and then they think they needed to be at a major deficit, which is completely wrong, which is a misconception of, I don't know why and how that got created, but it's not healthy and doesn't do you any good. But then when you start saying, hey, you need 5 meals a day, this is what but this is way more, just try it. Just like, trust me, it's like those kind of things of just trying different things and learning. And it's the same thing that now goes for nutrition.
Yeah.
But I think nutrition wise, like staying healthy, cooling down properly, having a shake or some sort of like hypervolt Theragun kind of thing, I think would be probably like beneficial in the like 20 to 30 minute range post.
Yeah.
Which I think could allow better recovery purposes.
I can tell you like specifically in warm up and cool down, like for warm up for me personally, and this is for anybody that flies out there, I do some push-ups or some flutter kicks in the aircraft, in the helicopter, as we're flying out, probably like 10 minutes before I get on scene. I have done a little stretching of the legs and whatnot before you land. So that way you're at least warm. Because the last thing, again, a lot of us will fly, 20, 30 minutes, sometimes up to 2 hours. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there they are, go. And you're like, whoa, I haven't even had a chance to warm up yet. So for everybody out there, give you a minute of your body a chance to warm up in the aircraft, whether it's push-ups, flutter kicks, just something. And then I'm all about your advice right there. When you get back in the aircraft to just kind of stretch out a little bit and loosen up, and when you get back to land and relax, I'm all about it.
I think that's the bigger thing, is just spending the time and quality of trying to make the recovery as optimal as possible. And if that is, I don't know the situations on like what you guys take with you and how all that stuff works, but if there is a way, like you do just have like a shaker, like thrown in a bag in the corner of the helicopter or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then that's like an easy way, like, okay, on the way back, you can just sit there, stretch out for like 10 minutes while you sip on that. And then you don't even have to worry about it then as soon as the helicopter lands. And then it's kind of like, okay, well, there we go. But it's just being able to find out what's optimal for you, right? Like, what's going to work for you isn't going to work for Jim Joe down the street, or then Jimmy John over here. Like everybody's got a different recovery way, and my way's not always going to be everybody else's way. I just think as long as you're finding some way to recover and replenish your body from what just happened, then ultimately you're setting yourself up for success, rather than if it was like, okay, we finished, I'm just going to sit there and not do anything. Like all you're doing is tightening up. Then your body's getting hungry, like all these kind of things. Your muscles are starving. Like you just broke down all the muscles. Like now you got to repair it. Like you got to be able to do those things. But I think it's just figure out the most optimal way to do it for yourself, and then just stick with that. Right. Like
I love it.
Same proteins I take, you probably don't want to take, or same carb. Like it's all different and it's personal preference, but good thing there's 10 million supplements out there that everybody can take.
Yeah, no. I love the protein shake, idea. I actually do that myself. I have a shaker bottle with a couple scoops of protein in it. I always carry water with me. And then on occasion I'll have like a Cliff Bar or some sort of like the carb bar. And again, I am all about real food. That's like, I would rather get real food, but when you're in the back of a helicopter, it's a little more, or even the back of the fire truck, and you can't just stop off and hit the grocery store at the moment. But, like everybody flies with something in their bag. I have that with me. It is something that I utilize all the time. I do love the idea of stretching out afterwards, whether it's when you get back on the ground or if you can in the aircraft. So some of the aircrafts we fly on, Travis, they're pretty tight.
I could only imagine. What that feels like. That's what I'm saying. Like when I finish a workout, I have bikes and plenty of space and walls to stretch on, and bands everywhere, and machines to cool down on, and cold tubs. Like for us, it's a little different. The environment situation immediately when I'm done, where for you guys, I can imagine is not as comfortable.
Yeah,
as luxurious.
No, not quite.
The other way.
I'll tell you, like, I'm going to go into the mobility a little bit because you talked about it and the stretching and whatnot and your Theragun. If there's one thing, there's three things I've learned quite a bit of since I've been doing more CrossFit than anything else. And even just educating myself on what works best for my body. You mentioned it a second ago, you used what's best for your body. And I try to do the same for me. The number one thing, and I can't recommend this enough to everybody, is figure out like real food and healthy food, like your calorie intake, and get away from the processed stuff. Get away from that junk food that just freaking jacks everybody up. The other one for me is, which I didn't realize when I was younger, is how much stretching and mobility work is needed. Like I told you earlier, I used to go to the gym and just lift heavy and then not stretch out. And now it is biting me. Like my overhead stuff is ridiculous. And everybody that's out there.
My brother loves to do like the pump sessions, but when he reaches his arms over his head, his hands are here. Put your hands together, put them overhead.
I can't get my hands back there.
Yeah, like he'll literally try to reach up and his hands are like this far apart, and I always crack up. He's like, my arms are too big. Just because you're doing bodybuilding sessions. But
It's because I can't reach that spot on my back ever. Can I get some help?
Exactly what it is. I mean, it's funny because he'll always reach his arms up, and I'm like, God, this is so bad. Like, touch your hands. Like, what if it was like life or death right now, and you had to touch your hands together? He's like, I couldn't do it. Nope. Not if your arms are locked. Yeah, I mean, I think any sort of movement. I mean, I think gymnastics, if you're like a kid, is like a great way to get into like movement, understanding strength in very strange positions, but it also benefits you so much, right? Like kids these days, it's like sit and reach test or do something else. It's like, okay, like sure, that's great, but there also needs to be more of an impact in the way you're teaching them and doing different things. I'm not saying they need to do CrossFit or something else, but like finding different ways to be more functional and movement and quality. Like those are the things that's going to help longevity wise, like sitting down. And the bad thing is it's like, okay, you can sit down and play video games and be paid to be like this millionaire that just now that's like the new big thing, right? Like you can pay to watch people play video games and different things. Like it's just creating this sedentary habits that aren't good, like that are not creating, hey, get outside, fresh air, like the things that are good for life and your own sanity. But I mean, it does also, it pays the bills, and it's very impressive that that's a thing, that you can play a video game and get paid to do it, which is unreal to me. But I mean,
me too, dude. Me too.
I've never been, and I think that's hard for me because I've never been a big video game person ever.
Yeah,
like
me neither.
Growing up, I would rather been outside, like skateboarding, rollerblade, like something else physical outside. And I remember people like, did you see how much this guy just won for like winning this video game? And I was like, what? I was like, no. And he's like 16 years old or something, but it's just unreal that, I mean, granted, you could be famous from TikTok and YouTube now. So, I mean, it's just crazy what the world has come to in regards of like perception of what like real athletes are doing. Like you're getting YouTube stars that are fighting professional athletes. Like how crazy is that? Like like these people have 25 years of experience building up to this point, and then you also have this YouTube star that's like, I just want to create a video and some content and I'm going to fight this guy. All right, cool. Let's do it. And then pay-per-view does it. And yeah, it's very interesting. But I think from like sorry, that was off topic, but back to like mobility. Yeah. Back to like the movement and mobility stuff. I think the more you can do a kind of routine and find something that like there's so many apps and like RomWod, GoWod.
I use GoWod myself. I totally enjoy it. I
think like there's another couple other ones out there, but like it runs you through like a stretching and warm up routine and kind of assesses you on how your movement already is and what you can do to improve that. I mean, I think anybody can benefit from that. Like the more you sit, the more you're just tightening everything up. The amount of back problems and different things that go on from just sitting, it's because you're sitting all day. Like it's just not healthy for you. So like you're not meant to be doing that. So finding ways, and if it's like every hour I'm hopping up and doing a 5-minute stretch of something, whether it's my hips, whether it's my psoas, whether it's my shoulders, like find something every hour or something, just hop up and move, whether I walk, whether I squat, like find yourself something to do in between those times than just like sitting down and not doing anything. It's just worse for you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. If I ever have to fly like a super long distance, like 15 hours or so, and my routine is like I watch a movie or a show and then I get up and stand and stretch for like 5-10 minutes and they're like, okay, go back down. So like,
on planes, I don't do that. It's like the weirdest thing. I don't know why. It like even going to the bathroom, I hate it. Like the whole situation of like, I don't know why. It's not like I'm afraid of flying or being in the air. I feel like I always like the window seat because I always like to be able to look out and see if something was about to happen. But then also just the fact of like, man, I don't want to get up and pee. Like there's been times I've gone the full like 8.5 hours to Amsterdam and haven't got up at all.
Oh, you're crazy.
Like, I am. And I don't understand why. And I'm like, why? Well, like in my head, I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, just get up and move. I'm like, no, you're fine. Stay here. Keep watching. And so then I don't know. I'll just keep watching movies and keeping myself entertained. I don't like getting up on planes for some reason.
Oh, that's funny. That's
very strange now that I actually start to think about it.
Yeah. Maybe you'll change it on the next flight.
Yeah. Maybe I'm gonna I'll get up on the next one. I mean,
So-
I think Texas next. So I'll go Texas is a pretty short flight, but
it's easy.
I'll try to get up.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the other guys that I there's a book out there by David Goggins, and let's see, Can't Hurt Me. And in the book, he actually talks about, because he's a prior Navy SEAL as well, and he was all musclehead and got into ultra marathons and stuff. But he actually talks about it where he was so tight that his body started to shut down, and now that he's stretching and stuff and getting more mobile, his body is responding better. And again, that's stuff that I'm learning more recently and I wish I had known, or somebody had told me 20 years ago to say, hey dude, stretch. And actually I shouldn't even say that, because people did tell me like, oh, you need to stretch out. Yeah, dude, totally. You got to stretch after you work out. It's, and you're like, yeah, whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that really hurts. Oh, well, that's because you haven't stretched in freaking 2 weeks, dumbass.
Yeah. It's just being able to, it's being able to it's the same thing I feel like with the supplements and stuff, like figure out what works for you. And like, I mean, I think everybody can benefit from it. Whether it's not an app, whether you need to go see a physical therapist or you don't even want to do it. They have places called like Stretch Zone, and they'll stretch you for you. Like there's so many different things. Yeah.
I need to find one of those. Holy cow.
Yeah. I heard of, one of my neighbors was telling me about it, and I was like, what? Like, yeah, they'll stretch you for like 30 minutes. And I was like, you're kidding. I'm like, you paid to go have somebody stretch you.
I wonder if I could ask my wife, hey, honey, I need a stretch zone.
Yeah. So I'm like, no way. So, I mean, clearly there's things out there for everybody. So if you just feel like you're too lazy and don't want to do it at all, go to one of these places, pay them money, and let them stretch you for you.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That I sometimes think having, if it is like more structural issues and like there is like physical pain, then you probably need to see a PT or somebody that can actually like assess it if it's dry needling or cupping and doing different strengthening exercises for those areas. Like, yes, go seek like professional help that will do that. But I feel like for a lot of people, it's just finding some sort of 5 to 10 minute stretch routine that you can just do daily and just do it. And you'll start to see the benefits pretty quick. You'll be like, oh man, my hips don't feel as tight, my shoulders aren't feel as achy. Like those things all add up over time, and being able to do those things will definitely help and make you feel better. And then you just don't hurt as much. Like you're just not in pain. Like it just feels better. Like it feels good.
It's amazing.
When you wake up feeling good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, I feel so good, I'm not going to stretch. And then you're like, oh, I don't feel so good anymore. Well, I'll start stretching. And you'll feel good again. That's hilarious. So the third thing that I have learned personally, again, more recently than not, is how much sleep is such a benefit. And I don't think there's enough put on that. Now, for everybody out there that listens to this, we all are on the same boat, because we'll get called out at 2:00 in the morning. You don't get a good night's sleep at 2:00 in the morning. And then you'll come back at 6, redo all your gear, and you're back out at 6:30. So sleep doesn't really go with our job. However, preparing, and what I've learned more recently is I try to get a good night's sleep and try to keep that regimented sleep for recovery more than anything else. And then on the days that I get launched out, or I'm working to the bone, you only get 2 or 3 hours of sleep. If that, I have, my body responds better, and then I can get back into that sleep routine. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think sleep ultimately is like your best recovery tool for all of it, right? I feel like everybody's on their phone or they're watching TV too late. Like, I'm watching Netflix for hours on hours, and it's like, you could just be in your bed sleeping, and you'd probably have way more benefits, and then be way healthier for you if you just went to bed at like 9 o'clock versus midnight, and then you slept for 4 hours versus, okay, if I do have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, like I have 4 kids. Right. Yep. And they're up all the time. Like I don't have a great night's sleep. I'm not saying I understand it from your side of point of view, but like
hey,
from the point of view,
kids
like,
are about the same. I got 3 daughters.
Like,
I get it.
yeah, like one of them getting up, then 30 minutes later, the other one's up because he's cold and one in his blanket, but his blanket's on top of him, but he just wanted you to touch his back. Like, there's all these little things of like, okay, I didn't sleep for 3 hours, but it's being able then back to like the mental side of things of being like, oh, it's okay. Like, this is life. It's part of it. Like, you created these children and now you have to step up to the plate and handle it. But I think from like sleep perspective, it's the easiest thing that gets overlooked probably the most, right? Like going to bed at a normal, reasonable time. Like I'm usually in bed by probably 9:15, 9:30, probably at the latest. And I'm probably asleep within 3 minutes.
Wow.
Like I'm usually out. It drives my wife nuts. But because I mean, I'm literally like, as soon as I hit the bed, I am out. Like, and I even have this like, it's called 8 Sleep. It's like a kind of like a topper that goes on top of the mattress and it can like heat and cool and do different things. So
nice.
like,
Wait, what? Hold on. Wait, what's that called? I gotta write this down.
8 Sleep. Like the number 8 and then sleep. Yeah.
Ooh.
And then
I'm looking that up.
So it like cools and heats and does different things. So like in the winter, I'll make sure it's like warmer. So like when you get into bed, like it just feels better. And then like you can change the settings throughout the night. So if you know, like in the middle of the night, you typically get warm. Like I have mine right now because it's still pretty hot, like at a -9. So it's like, it's cold. Like you get into the bed, it's like cold and it's incredible. Then you can set it like usually around like 2 or 3 o'clock, I start getting kind of like almost too cold. So then I drop the temperature down. So then it will automatically do it. And you can start to like regulate that and see how you're tracking and sleeping. And it tracks your HRV and all these other things, which is really neat. But you can even set it to do alarms. It's crazy. Like, wow. So the bed will vibrate like in the morning. It'll go zzz, 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 like it's nuts. I mean, it's so cool. It's awesome. I mean, they were a sponsor and helped out. And I mean, it was probably one of the coolest things. I was like, this is incredible. But like,
I like that.
I feel like I would get it for all of my beds now. If for some reason I never had that again, I would definitely go buy it and use it. I mean, it's awesome. But they just have like toppers now. Like I have the full setup of like the mattress and everything, but you can even get like toppers that just go on top of your actual bed size and you don't even need it. But it's pretty cool.
Probably what I would want to do because, I'm cheap.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's awesome. Like it's so
pretty
cool.
Awesome.
But there's that. And then I think, just finding ways to get to bed at a normal time. And I mean, I'm up at 5 o'clock probably every day just because my kids are up. Dad. I'm like, okay, now it's time. So it's just like routine that they're up that early. But
I remember all that, buddy. I really do.
Yeah. But I think some people would be like, oh, I'm going to keep going to bed at midnight and get up at 5. It's like, no, why don't you go to bed sooner and then get up at 5? And then now I had 9 hours of sleep versus 5 hours of sleep. And like just finding ways to improve sleep is always important. Like sleep's always like the number one recovery tool for anything. It's like even food's the best supplement instead of shakes. Like that, you just have to figure out what's going to work for you. And if it is like, I did only get 4 hours of sleep that night, like, okay, well, how can I fuel myself nutritionally wise to make myself feel better throughout the rest of the day? Where if I can take a 20-minute power nap at some point, take a 20-minute power nap, like just finding ways to improve sleep patterns, I think is very important. I mean, I'm not a big napper, but I do go to bed early and I'm probably 8.5 probably every night.
That's really good.
Wow.
I try to get the same, but
regardless, if my kids get up, that's a completely different story. But if they all sleep through the night, then it's fantastic and I can get that. But if not, it could be 4, 5, but it's just the name of the game. And I mean, I think it's just, you got to be able to function and keep going on without it. I mean, I remember the games this is my first year at the games. We had the fire alarm system went off on our floor. And I thought it was Dave Castro pulling like, get up, it's time to come do a workout. Like in my head, I was like, he's crazy. Like this dude is genuinely crazy. Like he's waking us all up. We're going to go down to the main lobby. It's 3:00 in the morning.
What a great idea, Dave. Just throwing that out there. Sorry,
the thing
Travis.
is, not all the athletes are at the hotel, which in the moment I was not processing. And then I just remember getting down to the lobby and it's just our floor. I'm like, where is everybody? Like, what's happening? And they're like, oh, it's just the fire alarm. You can go back up. And I was like, oh, come on. But I remember I thought the whole time, I was like, this is a day behind it all. He's about to make us do a workout at 3:00 in the morning. And you just got to be prepared for it. So my kids have prepared me to be able to work out very early if I needed to.
That's hilarious. And that is right there. That is our world, is that, it's just an alarm going off. It might not be a fire alarm. It's the SAR alarm. Boop, 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 boop. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. People in the water, people in distress, go get them.
Crazy.
So,
man. Like, how often do you guys fly out? Like, is it every day or is it?
It depends. So the greatest part about this is like, I've talked to guys from around the world, and it depends on the area you're in. And like for me personally, when I was in Kodiak, Alaska, we flew quite a bit. When I was stationed in Humboldt Bay, California, we did not fly quite as much. It was when we had SAR, or a search and rescue case, it was pretty big. It was kind of a big deal, but it was limited. You go down to places in New Orleans or out of Miami.
All the party places.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot. Savannah, Georgia, another one. Like they have quite a bit of SAR down there. Elizabeth City, you go right up to Cape Cod and all, Atlantic City. Those guys, they have some SAR and they get sent out on some crazy stuff, 50-foot waves. I've heard guys talk about, getting lowered down because of pilots being ejected out of aircrafts and guys getting rolled up into spools on the fishing boats. And it's like, as a matter of fact, we just talked to a guy who his survivor survived a helicopter crash, and he ended up swimming over to go get him. And next thing you know, he's chilling on the bottom of the helicopter with him, be like, okay, we got to wait for the next helicopter to come back. And now he's in that situation where, all right, now we got to start swimming guys back and forth. But that was his opportunity to almost rest. It's like, okay, let's take a break. And then boom, back into swimming the other guys to the aircraft. So yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. I feel like I couldn't even imagine like seeing a 30 or 50-foot swell. Like that would just, it's
interesting.
Sure, that's one way to put it. Interesting. I mean, that just sounds terrifying. Like that sounds terrifying.
If you can imagine, all right. So the next time you're on,
I don't know how the people surf those big waves, like the people that surf like those things.
Yeah, ridiculous.
I'm like, you're gonna die. You're gonna die if you fall on that. Like, you're hitting the water so hard.
Yeah. And they come in with jet skis behind to go get them. Hey, I got you. And then blast off.
Yeah. So crazy.
The next time you're on like a good sized incline of a hill, just lay down, look up, and be like, oh, this is going to be like to swim up a wave. Got it.
Yep. Nope. I'm probably just not going to try to put myself in that situation at all.
That's probably a good idea.
I mean, like the ones in Dubai, sure, that we had, like I've been in some other ones that are, I mean, well under 10 feet. And it's still, I'm like, this is good. I had fun. It was a good time. But I really would prefer not to see anything much. Or if I saw it, good thing I got YouTube or something, because then I can just watch it on that. I'm not.
You know what? Just call me, dude. I'll help you out. I'll come out and be like, all right, this is how we attack this one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If I attack, just give me a bunch of floaties so I can stay afloat.
The arm floaties? Maybe a little. Yeah.
The big orange ones.
Yeah. Perfect.
And flippers. They'll be looking like Scuba Steve over here.
That's awesome. That's hilarious. Oh man. Hey Travis, I've already taken a ton of your time. I can't thank you enough for coming on. If you have anything else you want to pass to everybody out there that's listening, the floor is open to you, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're ever looking for a CrossFit gym, just come to my gym. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
you'll find. No, I mean, I think if you're in the CrossFit space and you're wanting to find something, just do some research, figure out where you're going. I mean, it's all pretty cool what we can do. And how the whole community around the sport has grown. And I think it's cool to kind of be able to have these situations like this, where this podcast has pretty much brought us together through CrossFit and my neighbor.
Thanks, Mark. So, like, shout out to Mark.
Yeah. So from that side of things, like just something from like health and wellness wise, to then it's so cool to see everybody kind of come together. Like there's 13,000 affiliates across the world, and all these people are coming together doing some of the same workouts, and it's just really neat. And if that's not what you want to do, then just go find something that you can find out at your LA Fitness, Lifetime Fitness, take some classes, do something. Just do something. That's what I feel like is the biggest thing. Is it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but just take yourself and your health serious, because you only have one, and it's very important. And so you need to make sure you do that and learn as much as you can and keep growing, and just try to live the best life you can.
Freaking right. Come on, Travis Mayer. Yeah. I'm going to call you when I get down there. I'll come work out with you. Is that cool?
Yeah, man. Come on.
I'm going to get my ass handed to me is what's going to happen.
Probably.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I mean, it's like me saying, hey, let's go swim. Like, it's just, there's, this is.
I'll drown you. It's cool.
I get paid to work out. Yeah. I mean, it's just, everybody's got their thing, right?
I'm okay with that. I like that. Dude, thank you again for coming on, man. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you, and everybody out there that's listening. I hope you guys got something from this, because this has been a great conversation. So thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Heck yeah. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Go. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Real ResQ podcast. Please take a minute and, like my daughters like to tell me, like and subscribe. Oh yeah. I'm pulling chocks and taking off. But before I go, if anyone out there has a rescue story that they would be willing to share, I would be humbled and honored to have you as a guest. Or if you have any questions about any of the rescues or anything else that we talk about here on this podcast, send me an email. therealresq@gmail.com. That's therealresq@gmail.com. You can also check us out on our Facebook and Instagram page at The Real ResQ. That's at therealresq. I also want to give a special thank you to all of you staying on the watch today. Always remember that when that SAR alarm goes off, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. Until next time, fly safe and swim hard.